Finally, I have some questions from Belinda Uribe.
Uribe.
Uribe, sorry. Uh, what are you most grateful for in your life?
So I'm grateful for having my husband. When I moved to Phoenix, I met him, and he's very supportive of the work I do. And we work together to raise our three sons,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is one, all teenagers now. So, as a police officer and a detective, his job is pretty demanding and it can be stressful at times. But he's also very happy to help those in need, and that's similar to what I do. And we're helpers. And it might sound funny, but I still call him my BFF, and we like to help each other laugh and try to stay positive, even if the day didn't go as well as you had planned. We like to travel, huh? We like to
Yes.
travel, especially around the U.S., and go camping with our three sons and our little doggy.
Yeah. Uh, what is the best advice you've ever received?
So my older brother once told me, and I'll never forget this. It's not so much advice, but it was something that just stuck in my head. And he said, "I've never seen you fail." And that that seemed a little unusual because I thought, well, we
Yeah,
always
because
fail
yeah,
at
you
some point.
feel
I didn't
a
think that
lot.
was, but at the time I was real nervous about starting my own practice when I'd finished residency. So this is think of the year 1999. So this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And what he meant was that even though your life doesn't really go by a plan, it's always a win in the end. So it's never really a fail if you're trying. You just have to try. And another thing that I always
Oh, you're
remember,
right. Yeah.
yeah, another thing I always remember, and I use this, and I tell. There's a lot of things I think of just along the way that I still tell students, and I tell you guys, right?
Yeah.
One of my professors used to always say, he used to say, "In God we trust, and all else you biopsy." And what that means is that he was a doctor who was what's called a gynecologic oncologist. So he specialized in cancers that affect women. And what that means is that if you order an x-ray or you order a test and there's something abnormal on it, you don't just keep ordering more and more and more tests, more and more tests. You have to take a little piece of it, and that's called a biopsy. So that means that you have to get to the bottom of the issue. You have to take a little piece and analyze it. So all these other tests, they're just kind of beating around the bush. Sometimes you have to go right to the source and figure it out. And that's the only way you can diagnose cancer, is to get a piece of tissue out of it. So I always remind patients, if we have an abnormal test, that's all we have is a test. You don't always have a diagnosis. And many times it's not cancer, because that's everybody's worry. So I help them work it through, and I'm happy to give them a good news if everything turns out well. But if it doesn't turn out well, right, then I send them to somebody that I know, a colleague, and they help them with the correct treatment. And still, in a lot of cases, they do very well.
Okay. Um, who has inspired? Who inspired you and why?
I said that wrong, huh? So there are a lot of people that inspired me. And I think my parents, they probably inspired me the most. As things go on, you start to accumulate a lot of debt, especially when you go to college. But they inspired me just to work hard, save money, and really try to pay down your debt as soon as you can, so you don't carry that over with you. And so I learned not to spend money too foolishly, especially if you have other bills, other responsibilities that come first. And now that they're older, they paid off their house, they don't have any car payments, and they live comfortably. And hopefully I can get to that part where bills are paid and I can volunteer. I don't have to work so hard, and we could just travel and have fun.
Yeah. What is the hardest lesson you've ever learned?
So one of the hardest lessons I ever learned was, when you start to work and you make a little bit of money and you're not used to having money, you start to spend, right? So it gets back to what I was saying. So I started my business and I was finally making a little bit of extra money. You weren't even born yet.
No.
Neither were, yeah. So what an idiot. I thought, hey, I worked really hard. I'm going to go get a new car. And I spent ton of money on a car, and God, what a bad idea it was. I mean, I still owed so much in student loans.
Do you remember what car it was?
I do.
What car was it?
It was, what did I have? I actually had a Mercedes, actually.
It was? What was that? The old Mercedes?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was old later because then it got old.
Oh,
I shouldn't
yeah.
even have done that. I shouldn't even have done that. I should
But
have just stuck with the regular car.
Did you need a car in the first place?
Well, yeah, I need a car, but it didn't have to be a fancy car. I should have just kept with my old car. It was running fine. Pay off my stupid debts. Get all that paid off. Because otherwise you're owing so much money and it just doesn't leave you. And so once I finally paid all my student loans off and bills and everything, cars paid off, then you can relax.
Yeah. Who do you consider your hero and why?
So I have 4 older sisters and I have 2 older brothers, right? Your aunts and uncles. And I kind of chose them as my heroes because it really doesn't matter what I do or what my job is or how many titles I carry or my degrees. I still listen to them. And if they tell me to do something, I do it. And I take their advice on life. I call them about kid problems and or marriage or travel or money or any problem you need advice for. And I call my brothers and sisters. And so even though sometimes you fight and argue with brothers and sisters, right? That happens. But it's really our siblings who shape our characters.
That's true.
So they make us who we are, right?
Yeah. What superhero you identify, or what superhero do you identify with, and why?
I put that wrong, huh?
Yeah.
That was a hard one. I don't think I really know a whole lot of super. I should have asked you, huh?
No, that's fine. I think you chose a good one.
But I chose Elastigirl, so she's
from Incredibles.
So she's not Marvel or DC, right?
No, she's Disney though.
She's Disney, right? But I liked her. I like her because she's a hardworking mom. She takes care of everything: her house, her kids, her husband, and at the same time, she knows when she has to be strong and pull out her superpowers, right?
Yeah.
And how to be flexible. And even if her kids don't understand what's going on or they don't agree, she just has to do what she has to do to keep people safe and keep you guys safe, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't asked you about?
There's always so much to share, I think. I think most of everything is just work hard. Work hard, be a good person, save your money. Don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money, but definitely save money. It's going to really come in handy in the long run. And always learn how to give a firm handshake when you meet somebody. Learn how to look at people in the eye when you talk to them, whether it's our patients or students, and even a lot of things we do like this, Zoom, or I see patients even through the camera. I look at the camera and make sure they know that I hear them, that I see them. And in the end, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or young or old or tall or short or big or little. I mean, it doesn't matter. You should always have good manners.
Right.
And always be professional wherever you go.
Right.
You never know who's watching. And take time to talk to your parents about what their dreams are, what they see their future. And talk to your grandparents too, and ask them what it was like when they were little. And you'll see that it might seem like their life was really different, and it really isn't. Their struggles were still there. But when we all stick together and we learn how to listen more than how to talk, and we stick together and we support each other, we really can accomplish a lot for ourselves and in our lives.
Yeah. That's it.